I actually support the increase in the hotel tax. I chaired the Arts Task Force, which brought together all of our arts infrastructure in San Francisco, and one of the first recommendations was to increase the hotel tax in order to remain a world-class city that benefits a lot from the tourist industry. It's one of our biggest industries. We need to keep the city world-class, and there's a lot of cost factors. Many of our arts organizations, the large arts organizations, Moscone Center, the Convention and Visitors Bureau are all funded out of this pocket of money. And those, over the years, the general fund has been taking more money out of this hotel tax than is given to these allocations, and they're hurting. We are losing the ability to promote our city as a business. I think that we all should be supporting this hotel tax, and I think that it's the only way that we can continue to keep our city a world-class city. Thank you.
I think what's great about this election is there's some clear distinctions between candidates. I'm absolutely against the hotel tax. New York imposed a similar hotel tax in the early 1990s. They saw tourism drop 15.4% during that period of time. They actually rescinded the tax 3 years later. Now, granted, all of it didn't have to do with the tax, some of it to do with the economy, but they ended up rescinding it, and the decrease in tourism slowed and started going the other direction. We finally, for the last quarter of last year, saw an increase in occupancy rates. And we're also seeing an increase in average cost per room. We cannot give up that and attack our most vibrant industry, the industry that brings more tax dollars to the city than any other industry. It's not the $3 a night that my grandmother will spend on the room that which she spends when she's here for 10 days. It's the hundreds of thousands of dollars Oracle will spend when they bring in 42,000 people this week, starting Wednesday. They're closing Howard Street, I might add. 42,000 people who will spend $3 a night more for 10 days. That's the impact. That's why Oracle would go to Las Vegas if we imposed it.
Are you saying, you said you oppose the hotel tax? Do you mean altogether, or just the increase that's being discussed? Just the increase that's being discussed. Now, there is an online loophole, I think, that another proposition addresses, which normalizes the tax for online purchases versus purchases direct. But as far as a 2% increase in the tax in general, I think it's a bad economic move.
The alternative initiative that Ms. Sparks is referring to contains a poison pill that would kill the increase in the hotel tax that we've been talking about. People don't choose which city they're going to come to based upon the cost of the hotel room. They choose what city they're going to come to based on the amenities of the city. And as Debra mentioned, this is a world-class city. People fall all over each other to book conventions in San Francisco. We're talking about pennies, or as Theresa says, $3 per night increase. Now, they tried this in New York. That was in the midst of the George Bush, H.W. Bush recession. It's recovered since then. And I assure you that if we increase our hotel tax by $3, New York and Chicago and Los Angeles and Las Vegas will eventually increase theirs as well. It'll all even out.
I also support the hotel tax. I've actually looked at occupancy rates over the last 5 years, and hotel room costs have gone up over the last 5 years more than $3, and occupancy rates have stayed the same or have gone up. So I think that we know that tourists don't look at things like $3 taxes in determining which cities that they go visit. However, things that we can do with those $3 is actually to invest back in infrastructure that helps tourism in the city. Currently, Muni runs at 8.1 miles an hour. There's a lot that we can do to invest in our public transit infrastructure. We can't do that without raising revenue. Revenue is invested back into our community, and I think that this is one smart way to do it. The other thing about this measure is that it's a temporary tax. So it expires after, is it 5 years? 4? It expires after a certain amount of time, so if it's not working, we don't have to go put it back on the ballot to get rid of it.
I think we should try out the hotel tax and see if it really does cut back on the amount of tourist trade that is done and the amount of conventions that are booked in the city. and give it a 3 to 5 year try. And then I think that the city really keeps looking for new revenue, but instead they should really be kind of considering how they're wasting their money, such as, you know, just by safe injection sites, you would save $20,000 in streets cleaning, in hospitalization, in so many forms. You know, you would just save money cleaning the streets, the police, the ambulances. So that's $20,000 that would be returned to the city. And then also, if we house people, and there are approximately between 5,000 and 7,000 at a guesstimate of homeless people, it costs half as much to house homeless people than it does to keep them on the street. So I believe that we should look at ways to actually save money and not only look at new revenue. But yeah, but try the hotel tax for a while, see how it goes.
I'm not a fan of the measure to increase the city's hotel tax. And the reason is that we run the risk of actually collecting less revenue if we increase the tax. The problem with increasing the tax is right now San Francisco competes with other cities for big, large convention business. Other cities like Las Vegas, San Diego, New York, all over the country, we are in direct competition with them for their conventions. I don't support raising this tax because the people who plan the conventions could decide to move the convention away from San Francisco, in which case we would collect zero tax. Now this has already happened. In New York, they raised their tax a few years ago, and then when they noticed their actual drop off in revenues, they ended up lowering the tax to collect more money. It's not about the size of the tax, it's about maximizing our revenue. And I worry that this tax will end up cutting our revenue. Now the better thing we can do to raise revenue for the city is build our economy and grow our economy. We need to get more people working and more people earning money in jobs, and so then they will support the city's revenue through sales tax and the property tax and other means of raising revenue. This is a much healthier way to raise the city's revenue in the long term.
San Francisco is a destination city. People flock here time and time again. I remember a time when we were hearing that some of the numbers had been askew from, you know, the tourism reports that, you know, said the tourism was down, yet, you know, I know that at 1 Powell Street we see over 3 million people a day walk through there. That being said, I think that people will continue to come to San Francisco no matter what the price. Yet I would like to look at more progressive taxes, not the regressive taxes that, you know, will affect the poor. We need to look at more progressive taxes.
I think the hotel tax should be increased. I understand at this point it's a temporary hotel increase or tax increase, dependent on where the money is going to go. Now, if it's going to go for Healthy San Francisco, I'm 100% behind it. Everybody knows that I am in full support and believe that healthcare in San Francisco should be a right and not an option for our residents. Now, whether or not it's a temporary increase, I think that it should be a permanent increase, and I think that most of the people will feel, or most of the people who will experience the cost of this increase are going to be the tourists and the visitors. I do not believe that it will discourage individuals from coming to our city, and if it's clear and it's understood to the individuals who come here, I'm sure that they will have no problem paying this increase in tax.